Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Denny Steckline. It's my pleasure to welcome you here today for this press conference. This is an exciting day for Hutchinson Community College and Blue Dragon Nation as we gather to welcome our new head men's basketball coach. As we embark on this next chapter of Blue Dragon men's basketball, I'd like to share some numbers with you. 3, 15, 24, 53, 93, and 1,923. Each of those numbers is significant. 3, the number of national championship banners hanging in the sports arena that have been won by the Blue Dragon men. 15, the number of head coaches who have preceded today's special guest. And coach, they've all had a winning record. No pressure. 24, the number of appearances in the NJCAA National Tournament by the Blue Dragon men. 53, the number of NJCAA National Tournament victories. 93, the number of seasons Blue Dragons men's basketball has competed. And 1,923, the number of wins in the history of Blue Dragon men's basketball, more than any program in the history of the NJCAA. When you think of Blue Bloods, the list begins with Hutch, and that tradition continues today. At this time, I would like to invite Josh Gooch, Blue Dragon Athletic Director, to come forward for the official introduction of our new head men's basketball coach. Josh?
Thank you, Denny. We're a bit taller than I am. What a great day. And I want to thank you guys all for being here that showed up today and those who could not attend. There's been a lot of supportive text and phone calls as we've searched for the new men's basketball head coach. Certainly have to thank our corporate sponsors, our endowment contributors, quarterback club members, Club 1928 members for the tremendous support of Blue Dragon Athletics and their commitment to making our programs the best in the country, a reflection of what's taken place throughout the entire year. I'd like to thank Dr. Carter File. I'd also like to thank the Board of Trustees, and if most of you guys are here, if you just maybe raise your hand, Terry Bisbee, Bob Snyder, Mo Penny, David Marshall, Rod Calhoun, Jan Young, Todd Miller. Thank you for your support, and also incoming President, Dr. Tricia Paramore, who's here today. Their support of Blue Dragon Athletics, yes, thank you. Their support of Blue Dragon Athletics and confidence in our department as we conducted this head basketball coaching hire has been second to none. Their support is very much appreciated. Also like to thank Steve Carpenter, Steve Kappelman, Billy Watson, Julie Renault for their efforts in this transition. When you have a coaching vacancy at a place like Hutchinson and the Blue Dragons, for the Blue Dragons men's head basketball coach, you work through a ton of names and applicants. I'd like to thank a couple of mentors and colleagues for their commitment and knowledge as we work through that process. Coach Dan Nacarado, women's basketball coach John Onchis, and Hall of Fame coach Mark Potter. They've been a tremendous support and a wealth of knowledge to work through as you try to navigate the landscape of hiring a new coach. The next head men's basketball coach at Hutch, the coach needed to be someone who could lead the program in all aspects. Someone that could respect the past accomplishments of Blue Dragon basketball while having a vision of what it needed to be moving forward. The goal will always be to hang banners and a national championship banner at that, and the new head coach needed to know that coming in. I also believed it was important that someone who took the position wanted to get involved in our great community. What was great about my time through the interview process was Coach's attention to detail. From academics and holding student athletes accountable to player development and holding them to the highest standards. Anyone who has watched a team of his knows toughness, and that is what he's known for getting out of his players. Coach has the high expectations of himself, his staff, and team. Being truthful, fair, and honest are key verbiage that was consistent and constant in our conversations. Coaching in general is about taking someone else's ideas and philosophies and making them your own. He has had a great tenure to learn how to have sustained success and run a program from those mentors. He spent a dozen seasons with 2 Hall of Fame coaches that have amassed over 1,500 wins. Most impressive is when you take those lessons learned and put them into action like Coach has the last 5 seasons. Winning the Region 6 championship and competing for the NJCAA championship at a place that hadn't won a game in the tournament in 28 years. Making a place a consistent winner, which he did. His full understanding of the expectations that come with being the head men's coach at Hutchinson and those aligning with his own expectations was vital. A coach that wants to be here and be at Hutchinson Community College is always a must on my checklist. One other point that stood out in our conversation with Coach was the importance of his family. When I asked Coach his hobbies, the first thing without hesitation was my family, Catherine, Grace, and Rose. An ideal Sunday is mowing the lawn and cooking for the girls. I look forward to making them part of the Blue Dragon family as well. Also look forward to working with his staff and continue the great tradition of Blue Dragon basketball. So please help me in welcoming the 16th head basketball coach, Coach Kyle Fisher.
When I was started preparing something to say today, I usually would start with the date at the top of the page. So it says May 22nd, 2024, and obviously that's today's date. But it's also an alarming reminder of how much work we have to do going into next year. But I appreciate everybody for welcoming me and my family today, especially the coaches that are here in the first few days of this process. I heard from just about every head coach since we've been here. They've all been available, but also understanding that there's a little bit going on in the men's basketball program to get off to a good start. So I'm thankful for that. The last 14 days have been an emotional whirlwind for my family and I. I want to start with thanking President Dr. File and his support, and I especially want to thank Athletic Director Coach Josh Gooch for hours and hours of conversation, answering a number of questions and showing support for me and the family through this process and following through on everything we've talked about. Ultimately, thank you for believing in me to lead this program as the head men's basketball coach of the Hutchinson Blue Dragons. Thank you, Coach. What Coach Gooch and all the head coaches here in the athletic department have done over the last several years is truly remarkable. Every sports team across the board is at the top of the Jayhawk Conference. Every sports team across the board will compete for conference championships and national championships. I think that speaks to the quality of people that I'll get to know and enjoy learning from over the next several months. And as I get into the next part of this, I got to tell you, when I was younger, I was never an emotional guy. I was never a crier at weddings or anything like that. But when Grace and Rose came into the picture, all of a sudden, we could be watching The Lion King, and I'm just a mess at the end of the movie. So I'm going to do my best here. But thank you to my family, Catherine, Grace, and Rose, for your constant and consistent support. Also my parents, my in-laws, my entire family. I have 13 nieces and nephews in Kansas City. I have a great support system, very well grounded in my family. There are a lot of new Blue Dragon fans up in the Kansas City area, so I'm lucky to have that support. I love winning, and I despise losing. In coaching, the highs are high and the lows are low. I'm lucky to have these three to balance me out throughout what could be a really long season. When we win, it's better when I get to share it with you. When we lose, it's a little bit better when I get to share it with you. It's actually still pretty terrible. So thank you, and I love you. My wife, Catherine's really fired up about the school color change. She's a Jayhawk, so red and blue will be good for her. She's going to have an entirely new wardrobe, so she's excited about that. When we told our daughters a few days ago, had the family meeting, sat them down, said, hey, girls, we're moving to Hutchinson, okay? My 8-year-old, Grace, she was pretty fired up. She was on board. If there was any question when she saw the elevator walking in it, there was no debate anymore. She was fired up because of the elevator. My 7-year-old, we had a little bit more pushback from her the other day, maybe a few tears that we saw. But like mom comes in, like all moms do, she saved the day. She said, hey, Rose, you remember that Dad's new gym has those soft pretzels with cheese that you like so much. And so she perked up a little bit. We had her attention. And then I came in and said, hey, you know, there's a Chick-fil-A in Hutch. And so maybe the tears stopped then, and she just asked, do they have milkshakes? Yeah, they have milkshakes. And then she looked up, tears had stopped at that point, and then she said, can I see a picture of the mascot? I said, yeah, sure. Show her a picture of the mascot. And she was pretty excited about Duke, the Blue Dragon, so she's been on board ever since. So whoever's responsible for the soft serve, or the soft pretzels with cheese, that's why we got here today, so I appreciate that. But seriously, if I'm as happy with my team as I am with those 3 girls, we're going to have a damn good team. A minute ago, I said emotional whirlwind. First few days of this process were exactly that. It hasn't been easy because there's so many people who have been good to us the last 5 years. As I got to know Coach Gooch and learn more about Hutch, I knew this place was special. I also knew what I had to leave behind. My family and I poured ourselves into that community, we poured ourselves into that program, we poured ourselves into that situation. We have a lot of great friends, and we carry a lot of great memories from our time in El Dorado. I love basketball. I love to compete. I love the challenge. I love the thrill of competition. Those were the reasons why I got into coaching. But as I got more invested in my career, which is a fancy way of saying I got older, I realized that the basketball side of things was great, the challenge was great, but it's far less rewarding compared to the relationships. It's far more rewarding to see young men come into the program with really no idea on what it takes to win at a high level, or be a good student. They have to grow up, they have to mature, they have to make commitment and sacrifice. It's far more rewarding to watch these kids go on to be great citizens, great people, obviously great players, great family members. That's been very rewarding for me. So we're going to continue to help these kids mature and grow in all aspects of their life. My career started as a graduate assistant at Washburn University, where I played for 4 years under Hall of Fame head coach Bob Chipman. If any of you guys know Bob Chipman, you asked him, Kyle Fisher played for you, he'd say, well, Kyle was on the team, but he wasn't actually much of a player. But Chip is a legend. He's the first person who really showed me the intensity that it takes, the demands, the toughness that it takes to win at a high level. Coach always had a way of making things really hard. And now I look back and I appreciate that because I learned. After my GA year, I decided I was going to go all in on coaching and pursue this as a career. And it was hard. I was fresh out of college. I didn't know anybody. I couldn't get a job. I didn't have any veteran coach looking out for me and making calls for me. I knew I was going to have to create my own path. So I'm emailing, texting, calling, trying to get anything I can. And at one point during that process, when I was a young guy, I was just happy with the response. I wasn't worried about a job. I just wanted to get a text back. And luckily, one of the guys who texted back his name was Mike Holmes. Mike Holmes gave me my first coaching job as an assistant coach at Southwestern Community College in Iowa. And like most guys starting out, it was a part-time job. This place had no budget, it had no scholarships. It was a hard place to win. And there was no clear path for me in my career. I just was going to go in and do what I could do. So I dove in, and in my time there, I learned. For Coach Holmes is a great tactician. I've carried with me a lot of his philosophy to this day, and we will see some of his philosophy that I learned in Blue Dragon basketball moving forward. From there, I went to Eastern Arizona. That was about the time when I met my future wife, and that relationship was going a lot better than my coaching career started out. So I wasn't in a big hurry to move, but I had to tell her, hey, I'm going to the desert. I'd love for you to visit me, but I'm doing this coaching thing. Luckily, she came to visit a few times. But again, that was a part-time job. It was on-campus housing. In my mind, my mentality was always, that was my hutch. That was my big time. That was my chance. So I went down there and I learned. From Coach Lightsky, who's the head coach at Eastern Arizona, that's where I started to learn how to recruit. That's where I started to build my network that's still in place with me today. Got my first exposure to national recruiting. Appreciative of that opportunity. And then from there, I got the chance to work for another Hall of Fame coach we all know, Jay Herkelman. And that's right before we moved there. Got married. We looked at that as our first home. Our daughters were born there. Had a great run there. A lot of success. And again, my mentality was still, that's my hutch. That's my chance. And so I learned. Under Coach Herkelman, I learned how to lead, learn how to recruit, learn how to run a program, learn how to treat people, learn how to balance basketball and family. He's a great friend of mine, a great mentor. And all those lessons through all my stops add up to learn how to win. From there, I moved on to El Dorado. That was my first head coaching job. And all the lessons I had learned, I put into place. I'm proud of what we did with what we had. We've been very consistent. Went to the national tournament, as Coach mentioned, for the first time in 28 years and won a game. It's been a great ride, and I've learned. Now, we move on to this historic program, Hutchinson Blue Dragons, the all-time winningest program in junior college basketball history, a historic venue, the focal point of junior college basketball. Countless Division I players, hundreds of professional players, several future NBA players. A long list of coaches who have had highly successful Hall of Fame caliber careers, a basketball powerhouse, recognized that way by the entire basketball world. At Hutch, I want to have great teams, but I expect to have a great program. Great program means many things, but to me, bringing in quality people, doing the job with integrity. Whatever that job is, doing it the right way and for the right reasons. Treating players, treating teammates like their family, and taking pride in being part of something bigger than yourself, because this program is bigger than any one coach and any one player. When we get talented players in here who are willing to think this way, we're all going to have a lot of fun. So we are here, the Fisher family's here, we are all in, we're going to pour ourselves into this program, we're going to pour ourselves into this community, and we look forward to getting to know everyone and pursuing championships. Thank you.
Coach will be happy to take some questions. Let's start with any of our friends in the media who are here. Please identify yourself, who you represent, and let's hear the questions. And yes.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from KSN News in Wichita. I guess just tell us a bit about how you're feeling. And I know you just did, but in a few sentences, tell us a bit about how you're feeling.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling thrilled. I'm excited to be the head coach here at Hutchinson. I mean, this obviously is a very special place. I know what this place is. I know what the responsibility is of being the head coach at Hutch. It's been a lot to wrap our head around as a family, as an individual in the last 2 weeks. But as the dust settles and the more I learn, the more I realize how special this place is. And I'm just, to answer your question, I'm thrilled to be here and ready to get started.
John Nash from the Hutchinson Tribune. And my question is, you're coming from Butler to Hutch, and of course Butler and Hutch had some pretty good battles over the years, and some of them during your time as coach at Butler. So how do you feel being on the other side of that now?
I have a little bit of experience switching sides, from my Red Raven days to the Grizzly days. So I'm somewhat familiar with that. The one thing about me is I'm a competitor. and that's the Hutchinson El Dorado rivalry is special. There's no doubt about it. And I'm excited to be wearing the red and blue and take on our opponent. I know how much that means to this community, and it will be the same for me. I take a lot of pride in being a competitive team, and we're going to respect all our opponents, but I certainly recognize the importance of rivalries and how special that can be. If anything, it just makes it a little more intense and a little more special, and we'll be right there ready to go when that night comes.
What can we expect to see from you going forward?
We've got a long list. Yesterday, what can you expect? Yesterday, I came in the office and I had 5 different to-do lists. And so my first task was to get organized and have one to-do list. I think there's some immediate things that need attention. Starting with getting the right people around me and getting the right players in this program. And then once we go from there, there's a social aspect of things too. I got to get my family up here, but the priority will be getting the right people around me, getting the right people on the roster, and going from there. Were you asking more specifically about basketball, or is that?
Both, I guess.
Yeah. From the basketball standpoint, obviously the roster, and my philosophy, our style of play, will evolve based on our roster. I've got a pretty good idea on how we're going to play and the type of players that we're going to recruit to fit that system. But the philosophy is pretty simple for me. We're going to get good players that are the right people. We're going to play really, really hard, and we're going to play together. We're going to try and shoot high percentage shots, and we're going to make our opponents shoot low percentage shots. But it starts with getting good players that are the right people, and then from there you can go a lot of different directions.
Brett Meyer, girls instructor here at Hutch, and also like first of all, the girls are excited about the Chick-fil-A, so I think they get over. And second of all, you coach here a lot at Nationals, Coffeyville, Butler. Have you ever much thought about the other side where everybody's going to be actually root for you for a change instead of being?
Yeah, that'll be a welcome challenge. I will welcome that for sure. But I've been in the league for 12 years now, and every time you walk in this building, whether it's playing the Blue Dragons or the national tournament, region tournament, whatever it is, you walk in this place and you can feel it. You can feel the pride of this program. You can feel the pride of this community and the rich tradition and the history, and it's special. It's special. So, I've always admired this program. Even before I was in the league, you know what Hutch is. You know what Hutch is about. And, I take a lot of pride in where I'm at now and look forward, like I said, to getting busy.
Any other questions? Anyone can now? Anyone?
Thank you, guys.
I want to thank you all for coming. That concludes today's press conference. Coach will be available, so if you have any questions or would like to shake his hand and welcome him, I'm sure he would appreciate getting to know everyone. So thank you again.